Kentucky versus Georgia, the preview. Now, last week, Chris, you took Georgia, and I had to take Auburn. I didn't want to seem biased. But this week, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to take my dogs, and I'm going to start first with it here.
Let's go.
Chris, Georgia has literally not put together a full game this year. And they're a second half team. I mean, they just have not come out and played football, I feel like, to their standard in any of the first halves of the games that they played. They survived last week against Auburn thanks to a late Brock Bowers touchdown catch. You know, I know a lot of people are going to talk about 320 rushing yards Kentucky had last week against Florida and how suspect Georgia was, or Georgia's rush defense was last week. But look, you got to zoom in a little closer. You got to just zoom in a little closer, and you got to realize a lot of those rushing yards came off of quarterback runs. And I don't see Devin Leary gashing us in that department, right? Because of that, I don't see, Kentucky's running back, Ray Davis, being able to get to that second level on the road at Athens and replicate what he did last week. Offensively, Carson Beck doesn't look too bad. I mean, he's actually a top 10 quarterback in passing yards, and he's tossed 7 touchdowns, all right? Could be more if he wasn't held out, in some of the second halves of some of those blowout losses too, right? Let's keep that in mind. The biggest problem I see is eventually someone's going to take advantage of Georgia's inability to run the ball. Like we're used, again, they're banged up in the running back room. They're having to lean a lot more on Carson Beck, and eventually he's going to have an off day. Eventually the defense is going to give, and we're not going to be able to score more than the other team. So with that being said, I'll kind of kick it over to you and let me hear about some of that Kentucky football.
Let's go, baby. Let's fucking go, man. I've been high on the Wildcats all season. 5-0. They dismantled Florida last week, 33-14. Just completely decimated Florida, both sides of the ball there. Devin Leary, you talked about Kentucky's quarterback, really struggling this year throwing the ball. He's completing only 57% of his passes. He had 69 yards passing last week in that Florida game. That's a little concerning. I know they ran the ball all over the place, but in this game, this could be his toughest test by far. Georgia's got a hell of a secondary. Georgia's also got a decent enough defense. They're going to have to throw the ball. He's going to have to play better offensively there, throwing the ball through the air. But, you talked about it. Ray Davis, man, one of the best performances we've seen all year from any position, 280 yards last week. Florida man's got to be crying, probably on suicide alert, to be honest. He's also got 8 TDs to go with that. He's averaging 7.9 yards per carry this year. That is ridiculous. Very impressive so far from the Kentucky offense, especially running the ball. Defensively, though, this is a lot of people don't talk about Kentucky's defense, man. They're only giving up 15.2 yards or 15. God, I'm struggling tonight. 15.2 points per game, which is 20th best in the country, Christian. They're only giving up less than 300 yards per game. That's pretty solid. But how do they hold up against UGA and Carson Beck, right? Beck's been throwing the ball all over the freaking field. Nobody's talking about it. He's going to break every Georgia record this year if he continues that as far as passing goes. This is a tough one. This is a tough game for me, and I mean score-wise, because I think this game is going to be close for a while, just how close. So I'm going to give you my prediction here, and you guys know that I've been pretty high on the Bulldogs this year, probably higher than even Christian is, and he's a Bulldog fan. Give me Kentucky 17, Georgia 30.
Yeah, Chris, I agree. I think it's going to be close for like the first quarter, and then I think Georgia's going to figure out a way to play football in this one. Give me Georgia 35, Kentucky 14.
Ooh, okay. We were close.